Call this meeting to order at 4:37 p.m. We're gonna do roll call first. Vice President Stockman here. Chief of Staff Sanders.
Present.
Chair Newby.
Present.
Chair Friend.
Here.
Chair Brown.
Here.
Chair Sawyer.
Here.
Office Manager Peralta.
Here.
Senator Johnson. Here. Senator Sukup. Excused. Senator Splitstozer. Senator Boards.
Here.
Senator Haynes.
Here.
Senator Papa is excused. Senator Shakar. Senator Stout is excused. Senator Tibbetts. Present. Senator Hennick. Here. Senator Hood. Senator Annenberger. Here. Senator Rapp.
Here.
Senator Martin.
Here.
Senator Johnson's out of town. Dr. Gray. All right. We're going to move on to approval of the agenda. So, as you can see, we have a couple of old business items, which includes electing elections commission members, as well as a resolution that was on the table and policy reviews, a couple of new business items as well. Are there any amendments to the agenda? Chair Newby.
Move to add SB. I really don't remember his name. It's 1803. Yes, SB 1803. Signed second nature resiliency commitment. The agenda under new business. You need the title here.
All right, is there a second to this amendment? Seconded by Senator Haynes. Is there dissent to adding this amendment? Seeing none, everyone in favor of amending the agenda to add 1803, signed second nature resiliency commitment under new business, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Objections? Abstentions? Seeing none, amendment passes. Are there any other amendments to the agenda? Is there a motion to approve? Vice President Stockman? Is there a second? Second by Senator Rapp. Everyone in favor of approving the agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Objections? Abstentions? Seeing none, agenda approved as written. Moving on to approval of minutes. As you have read the minutes, sent to you via email. Reading it, are there any changes, amendments to the minutes? Chair Newby.
Move to approve the minutes as written.
Is there a second? Second by Senator Annenberger. Is there any dissent to approving the minutes? Seeing none, minutes approved as written. Right. Moving on to our agenda, public hearing. This is a section where anybody from the Senate Assembly or anyone from the gallery can talk about any student concerns or any other concerns, bringing it from the Senate Assembly. Are there any public hearings? Seeing none, we're going to move on to old business. First off, we have candidates for Elections Commission. As you all remember, 2 meetings ago, Chief of Staff Sanders nominated 3 candidates, out of whom we voted on one of them, Senator Martin was one of them who got voted in as the as one of the members of the Elections Commission. We do have two other nominations we still need to vote on. One is Senator Thapa, which he accepted the nomination. He couldn't be here because of his health issues. The second nomination that we have is Senator Annenberger. Do you accept? All right. So because they're student senators, we really don't need to go through a process of interviewing them. But is there anything that you would like to add or talk about? All right. With that, we have one more concern related to the Elections Commission. It's supposed to be 5 members. We are going to have 4 members after these approval of these 4 nominations. So we still need one more volunteer to be a part of the Elections Commission. Is there anyone from the Senate who would like to be a part of the Elections Commission? You would have to attend about 3 meetings, I would assume, although it does depend on the Elections Commissioner. At the same time, if any emergencies come up during the elections related to campaign guideline violation or any problems or complaints by any of the candidates or other students related to the elections, that's when you would have to have another extra meeting. As of now, it's pretty simple. You just have to attend one meeting where you kind of plan out how you're gonna follow the election campaign guidelines, and then one meeting with the candidates where you as a commission member, elections commission member, don't necessarily have to be there. The elections commissioner can be there. They can inform the candidates about all the guidelines. And then there would be another meeting after the votings are done, and where you'll be counting the votes, basically determining the results of the elections. And again, it's just 2 to 3 meetings. Is there any volunteers for this position? Chair Swart?
I don't.
Okay. So. All right. As I've asked Senator Annenberger, I'm asking you as well. Is there anything you would like to add? Talk about the Senate. All right. Chair Swart yields. With that, we can actually move to a closed discussion about the candidates. So, due to the absence of our advisor, I would ask Senator Annenberger and Chair Sawyer to sequester yourselves for a couple of minutes while we have a closed discussion. Right. Chair Sawyer, Senator Enberger, delighted to inform you that you've been approved by the Senate to be on the Elections Commission. And later today, under new business, we're going to elect the Elections Commissioner. So you have the elections guidelines in front of you, all 3 of the members in the Elections Commission. Please take a look at the guidelines if you can, and so that you can nominate whoever you want from the commission to be the commissioner. You can also nominate yourself if you want to, and anybody in the Senate can nominate anyone in the Elections Commission that are currently the members of the commission only. And the only requirement to be the commissioner is that they have to be a student senator, which makes 4 of the 5 members of the Elections Commission qualified to be the Elections Commissioner. So anyone can nominate anybody, including themselves, as long as they're part of they're student senators and they're part of the Elections Commission. Any questions related to that? All right, moving on to the second reading of SR 1801, relocating non-reusable utensils in dining areas, presented by Senator Rapp and Chair Newby.
Move to suspend SR 1801 indefinitely.
Just to clarify, is your motion move to postpone SR 1801?
Postpone indefinitely, I think I said that wrong, yeah.
Is there a second? Second by Senator Rapp. Discussions.
Basically, we ran into a huge wall, and from our discussions with Aramark, we are not able to go through this resolution within the next current couple weeks, month or so. So we're going to take it off the table for now and come back at a later date with an entirely different resolution with entirely different methods and results. So that's why we're removing this currently.
Senator Haynes.
I just wanted to add that myself and Senator Rapp attended an Aramark meeting on Monday that was very productive, and we had a lot of good conversation. Perhaps utensils is going to be a difficult thing to tackle, but there are other areas at Lakeside that produce unnecessary waste that we're looking at moving forward with instead. Specifically, drink cups and gift boxes.
Any other discussion on this? Seeing none, is there a dissent to postpone SR 1801 indefinitely, which would essentially mean it's killing the bill until it's brought back again as a brand new bill? So is there any dissent to postponing it indefinitely? Seeing none, SR 1801 postponed indefinitely. All right, moving on to policy reviews. The Legislative Affairs Committee, I would ask Chief of Staff Sanders to speak, please.
Well, we have one more meeting. We have 4 policies left to review. And those ones are the political activity, student email policy, student health, and residential living requirements. Our meetings are going to be tomorrow at 4 p.m. So I'll get that out of the way right now. The ones that I'd like to discuss today are going to be the peaceful demonstration and protest policy, looking at different policies around the state at different universities as well as different universities around the country. We've decided to change a couple of big portions of this policy. And the 2 big portions are on, let's see here, on its procedures number 2, it stated previously, sponsors of demonstrations or protests must secure a registration permit from the director of the student union or designee at least 24 hours prior to the scheduled activity. We decided to change that to, instead of secure a permit, to inform the director of student union of the location, subject, and duration of the protest. The big reason we decided to change it from permit to inform is because we believe that due to free speech, you don't need to require a permit to demonstrate. As long as there is allotted time frames for the places and what you're going to be demonstrating for the school to be prepared for that. So that was the big thing. The second big thing is, the next one down is listed multiple areas that you did not need to reserve, including non-academic public hallways and lounges, Hobson Memorial Union lobby, and Deputy Hall lobby. We added on there 4 different non-academic outdoor areas, which are the Lakeside Lawn, the Sanford Quad, which is out where those statues are between Memorial and the library, so that lawn area. The Pergola, which is over there by that direction, and then the Central Plaza. So making sure that people have the ability to demonstrate outside as well as inside. So that was the big things that we changed on the peaceful demonstration and protest policies. Are there any questions, thoughts? No? All right, then the last one that I'd like to discuss is the response to sexual violence procedure. The part 2, we changed quite a bit of the confidentiality and reporting. Subpart A states with confidential reports, because of laws concerning government data contained in Minnesota State Statute, imagine what that symbol is, 13, government data practices, Bemidji State University, this is what it did say, cannot guarantee confidentiality to those who report incidences of sexual violence, except where those reports are privileged communications with the licensed healthcare professionals. You know, we want to make sure that people feel safe and comfortable that when they report, it's going to be confidential. So we changed that to Bemidji State University will follow the procedures and policies in regards to confidentiality when reports of incidences of sexual violence occur. That way, we're just going back to confidentiality procedures, and policies that are already in place. We also then added a subpart including healthcare professionals, pretty much stating reports are privileged communication with licensed healthcare professionals according to HIPAA policies. We wanted to create a second subsection, another subsection regarding healthcare professionals, because that could include EMTs that are on campus, that come on campus, or if you go to reporting to the actual facility or anywhere else. So any questions in regards to that one?
I actually have something to add.
Yes.
Previous policy you mentioned, the peaceful demonstration policy.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'd be wise to look into how much non-academic area we have available at Bemidji State, and compare it with compare the ratio of the available space, which are non-academic, to how much space is available for use for peaceful demonstration. If the ratio is a huge, if the ratio presents a huge difference between available space and space allowed for peaceful demonstration, I think that's a concern. And you can find that data from the facilities director. His name is Travis.
I could definitely look into that. When we did do a little discussing with Housing Union, as well as I did reach out to public safety a little bit, and talk to them about these areas. They wanted to, I know residential life was a big concern in having demonstrations, peaceful demonstrations involved in the buildings, the academic buildings over there. But the committee ultimately decided that, you know, where you live is where you live, and having a disconnect is that what you're talking about? The areas available? Because if we include the residential life, we're going to obviously, there is going to be a lesser amount of area available for peaceful demonstration.
Well, when I'm talking about non-academic areas, obviously I just mean public spaces.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously not the hallways of each floor of the dorms, but the main lobby area of, let's say, for example, Tamarack Hall. There's a lobby area. The Oak Hall, all the wings of Oak, all three wings have one big area that is basically open to residents from all the wings. So those areas are also, they fall into open spaces. They're not necessarily violating your private space inside your dorm room or your commute from your room to the restrooms and your room to the kitchen area. They're a public open area downstairs.
We did kind of discuss that as well, and what we found is that it is more of the entranceway to your living situation.
Okay.
And so because actually walking through a protest to actually get to the elevator, to get to your living situation, we don't consider your doorway to your actual dorm, your, the entranceway. We consider those lobby areas the actual entranceway. So I can definitely talk to the director and get back to you on that, but that's kind of why we decided to stick away from the residential areas.
I agree with you with the rationale that you presented. And when I'm talking about open spaces again, just an example was those hallways, but I'm not necessarily talking about the dorms, but there's enough space around Walnut Hall. There's enough space between Tamarack and the Wellness Center, the John Glass Center, the baseball field, and the Oak parking lot. There's enough open space around campus. Even on this side of campus, there's enough space behind Peg Sour. There's enough space behind Banksburg or in the Banksburg parking lot. So those are, and also in front of the David house. I forgot what it's. No, the alumni house is what I'm talking about. So there's enough space around campus where we could potentially use in front of the football stadium as well. So things like that is something I'm talking about. If you talk to the facilities director and find out what is the total space we have and identify the areas that you think are open, does not violate their privacy, does not violate their academics, does not disturb academics, and compare the total surface area available with the total area of places that were allowed to have peaceful demonstrations. Because I know St. Cloud did a study like that, and they found out that there were some differences, and they fixed it over time. And another addition that you added to the amendment that you added to the policy, which I really liked, is instead of asking for permission from the HMU director, it's informing them, which is the case as far as I know at Winona State University, which is also one of our sister universities under the same system. And frankly, all over the nation in most recognized institutions, that is the case. So I think that's an important policy to take a closer look at, and I appreciate the work that your committee is doing, and hopefully you'll discuss more on that during your next meeting. Okay. Right. Are there any questions for Chief of Staff Sanders? Seeing none, we will move on to new business. Our timeline for spring general elections and related events. So I've been told that there are some confusions about the timeline. So just so that it's clear, March 27th, which is the next Tuesday, is when the president and the vice president applications are due. March 30th is when all other applications, meaning all the senator applications, are due. April 16th is when the cabinet applications are due. So just a reminder, if you're a senator this year and you wish to return next year as a senator, you still need to reapply by March 30th. if you're a senator or a cabinet member currently, and you wish to be a cabinet member next year, then you need to apply by April 16th. And elections, the actual voting polls would start April 9th at 12 a.m. And it would continue until April 14th, which is a Saturday, until 11:59 p.m. This would give enough time for the Elections Commission to meet up and inform the candidates of the results within the next 48 hours and publicize the executive election results. Any questions related to the elections? All right. And when it says related events means candidate debate, either the presidential debate or depending on how many candidates there are, the Elections Commission is going to administer the debate and organize it in collaboration with the Public Relations Committee. And that is set to be on the 5th of April, although the date and the time is subject to change depending on the candidate's schedule. And the PR committee will be working with KBSU, the campus television, to publicize and broadcast it live, hopefully from the Bainsburg auditorium. Any questions related to that? Seeing none, there are some elections promotions that the PR committee is doing, and I'm sure Chair Brown is going to talk about those things during her report. Just to remind you all that this election is not just about those candidates, it's about all of us getting the student body involved, student body making them aware and making them politically aware, in fact, and making them really promoting it to them that it is their right to exercise, to vote, and they should vote, and the importance of voting, the importance of participating in electing their next leader who's going to lead them for the rest of the year next year. So I invite all of you to please help out PR committee in their efforts to promote the elections itself, and the candidates, whoever is running, please apply in time to facilitate everything, and please promote voting, promote the elections among your peers, among on-campus students, and ask them to vote. With that, we can move on to Elections Commissioner for 2018. This is the part where we will be opening up the floor for nominations for Election Commissioner. Senator Shakar. Yes. Senator Enberger, do you accept?
Yes.
All right. Is there any other nominations for Elections Commissioner? Chair Brown.
I also
It's already been he's already been nominated, so yeah, basically a nomination. Any other nominations? Chair Newby.
I nominate Chair Sawyer.
Chair Sawyer, do you accept?
I'm going to have to decline.
Chair Sawyer declines. Are there any nominations? Final call. Senator Haynes.
I nominate Senator Martin.
Do you accept?
Sure.
All right. So we have two candidates for the Elections Commissioner. This would mean the Elections Commissioner serves as the chair of the Elections Commission. Obviously, it does not give the Election Commissioner ultimate autonomy over the election procedures. It's just a way of chairing the committee and leading the committee in keeping everyone informed, and the commissioner would be responsible to be in direct communication with the candidates if need be, and handle some of the time-sensitive and urgent issues that come up throughout the elections and leading up to the elections. If there are no other questions, I would ask Senator Martin and Senator Enneberger to sequester themselves so that the Senate can have an executive session and vote. Congratulations, Senator Enberger. You've been elected as the elections commissioner to run the spring general elections 2018. With that, we will move on to our next item under new business. Strategic path for the final 5 weeks. So the reason we have this item on the agenda is I think it's important for us to plan for the last 5 weeks that we have left of this term, because after my term ends, all the appointed cabinet members, their term ends, and all of you members of the Senate, your term ends as well. So it's important that we plan the last 5 weeks to decide what we're going to leave behind as our legacy. Provided that some of you are coming back, but some of us are not. So it's important that we finish the year strong. So I want to talk about a couple of ideas and a couple of ways you can achieve that. Suggestions that I have is, first, look at all the goals that you have for the year and for the semester. Look at the committee goals. Look at the goals that the initiatives that you've been talking about, the bills that you've been talking about with your committee chair, with your fellow senator, and realize if there's enough time left for you to accomplish those goals and approach those initiatives. Because if you want to complete signing or passing a bill or a resolution or chartering a new initiative, then now is the time. You need to start and finish it really quickly within the next 1 or 2 weeks, because I would assume it requires at least a week or two to implement an initiative. So really focus on what you really want to accomplish. And then look at all of your goals, prioritize, decide what your top priorities are, because odds are you're not going to be able to complete all of your, accomplish all of your goals if they haven't been accomplished already. And I'm not discouraging you, it's a fact. So I would encourage you all to prioritize those goals and those initiatives that you think will have a big picture impact. Meaning, as I said earlier this year, that we want to move towards sustainable development and ensure longevity of all the things that we do for the student body. So if you're approaching a goal for the next 5 years that will only impact students in the next 5 years and would not have any effect next year or the year after, then I would suggest prioritizing some other goals that would have big picture long-term effects that would affect students not only this year, but next year and the following year and the years to come in the future. So really prioritize maybe your top 3 goals, top 2 goals, top 5 goals, depends on how much effort you're trying to put in the next 5 weeks, and talk to your committee chairs, talk to the appropriate officials, come to me if need be, I'm ready to help you achieve your goals. Talk to Chief of Staff Sanders, talk to Vice President Stockman. We're all here to help you out. And bills and resolutions, please write them and bring them forward in the next 2 to 3 weeks, because, as I said, they take time. Any other questions related to this, or any comments? Chair, Chief of Staff Sanders.
I would just like to add, I know there's a lot that we are all trying to get accomplished, whether big or small. Talk to your committee members that you're on, talk to the chair of the committee that you're on. I would suggest that each one of the committees actually have a 10-minute conversation the next time they meet. And so that way we can come up with a list next week. We can discuss that list and within the whole student body population right here, student Senate population. And so we can all figure out how to help each other accomplish those goals. So, with that, I yield.
Thank you, Chief Sanders. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, we're gonna move on to our next new business item. SB 1803, signed second nature resiliency comment, presented by Senator Haynes and moved by Senator Haynes, seconded by Senator Tibbetts, co-sponsored by Chair Newby. I would ask all of you to come to the floor and address the assembly. This is going to be the first reading of this bill, so if you can read the content of the bill to the Senate Assembly, that would be great.
I can start it out and you guys can finish it up. You guys don't want. SB 1803, signed second nature resiliency commitment, moved by Senator Haynes, seconded by Senator Tibbetts, co-sponsored by myself, Chair Newby. Whereas Bemidji State University Student Association, BSUSA, Student Senate is the official voice of the students, and whereas Bemidji State University, BSU, has a shared fundamental value of environmental stewardship and a mission statement that states we instill and promote services to others, preservation of the earth, and respect and appreciation for the diverse peoples of our region and world. And whereas President Hensrud reaffirmed BSU's carbon commitment of the Second Nature President's climate leadership commitments on 4-21-2017, and whereas the Second Nature President's climate leadership commitments include an additional commitment focusing specifically on resiliency, under which universities develop a climate action plan to increase campus and community resilience within the face of a changing climate, and whereas BSU is one of 464 active signatories of the carbon commitments, but by signing the resilient commitment would be joining a distinguished cohort of 106 active signatories. And whereas in 2017, BSU was both recognized as one of Princeton Review's top green colleges and received the U.S. Department of Education's Green Ribbon Schools Post-Secondary Sustainability Award, acknowledging our national leadership. And is that enough?
Whereas BSU has long-standing leadership and involvement on the City of Bemidji Sustainability Committee, and whereas emerging community partnerships with the City of Bemidji Sustainability Committee, Local Citizens Climate Lobby Chapter, Mississippi Headwaters Auburn Society, and Sanford Health of Bemidji's Go Green Committee provide opportunities for collaboration, and whereas the Greater Bemidji Area Joint Planning Office, along with the City of Bemidji, continues to engage with the Green Step Cities framework and resilience planning with key community partners.
And whereas the amounts of carbon dioxide, CO2, in the atmosphere in 2008 was 385 parts per million, but has since exceeded 400 parts per million, a level never before reached in the history of human existence. And whereas surpassing the 400 parts per million is significant because the scientific community considers it to be the threshold beyond which it becomes increasingly unlikely we will reserve the trend to return to a sub 400 parts per million saturation in the lifetime of current students. And whereas the continued increase in atmospheric carbon dioxide will perpetuate the growing instability of climate conditions that will challenge this and future generations' environmental, economic, and social well-being. Therefore, be it resolved that BSUSA Student Senate ask President Hensrud to sign the Resilience Commitment by Earth Day 2018, which is April 22nd, effectively upgrading our status to that of a signatory of the climate commitment and broadening our commitment to campus community partnership on behalf of the BSU community.
All right, discussion on your motion.
All right, we'll speak on. I'll let you guys speak on it more if you guys want more.
So last year we reaffirmed our climate commitment, and a part of that was we asked President Hensrud to keep in mind that we were going to talk about this resilience commitment. And the resilience commitment is new. It's only been developed in the last few years, so it didn't exist when we first signed the climate commitment in 2008. So we've kind of been looking at it, and really BSU is already doing a lot of this work, and we're just not really getting credit for it. We're not a part of this more elite group because we haven't fully formed a climate action plan for the resilience commitment, and we haven't signed in really. So I think it's a logical step forward.
And we can read through this a little bit to just kind of tell you what it is. So point A, within 2 months of signing this document, create internal institutional structures to guide the development and implementation of the plan. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and stop us whenever. Part B, within 1 year of the implementation start date, actively support a joint campus community task force or equivalent to ensure alignment of the plan with community goals and to facilitate joint action and submit the first annual evaluation of progress. Part C, within 2 years implementation start date, lead and complete an initial campus community resilience assessment, including initial indicators and current vulnerability. What's your take, Chris?
Within, per Part D, within 3 years of implementation start date, complete the plan, also reflecting joint community campus components, which will include a target date by which defined thresholds of resilience will be met, interim target dates for meeting milestones that will lead to increasing resilience. Mechanisms and indicators for tracking progress, including those that cut across campus community boundaries, actions to make resilience a part of the curriculum and other educational experiences for all students, actions to expand research in resilience. Let me keep going.
Yeah, I just want to really quickly add that BSU has already found a lot of our community partners that we would be working with, and that was in the bill outlining all of those different ones. So we're really set up to do this. Yes, question.
Senator Enneberger.
Keep on talking about the plan. What is the plan?
The plan will be formed if it's signed, and that's something that's going to be done by BSU employees. So it's not, we're asking Faith Henzer to ask the employees to create this plan.
And we've already contacted, this is actually brought to us from the Sustainability Office of BSU, and we've already contacted Dr. Hansard as well as Dr. Grant, informing them of this bill, informing them of how we're requesting it, and things of that nature.
Chief Steph Sanders.
So you mentioned that we as BSU have been doing a lot of these things already. So of the A through E, are we needing to implement those, or what are we implementing already within this resiliency commitment?
When I say we're already implementing it, the climate action plan would be things such as, let's be really conscious of our buffer zones with the lake. Let's make sure that we're going to be more conscious of if flooding happens. Let's just be concerned about our community and know that BSU is a big component of the community. We contribute a lot, but also we contribute a lot of carbon dioxide and we bring in a lot of people, which can be good and bad. So it's just things that we're already really aware of.
Senator Rapp.
Something I'd like to point out to help the case is that we do have a carbon neutral commitment by 2050, and as I've said before, we can't start that last second. You got to start it earlier on to actually meet that goal.
As we move a little bit further on this, this isn't kind of like, it doesn't cost anything. Like Anna said, we are doing a lot of it already. It's just more partnering with the community, working together as an institution and a community to kind of reform and rethink of how we do things and how we treat things currently. And it's not going to have any cost financial wise up front. So if that's a concern, that's, yeah.
So I think from what you've read, the bill, and reading some of the points in the resilience commitment, my understanding is that we are doing some of the things which are very closely related with the resilience commitment, but we're not formally taking an initiative to be a part of the resilience commitment, and that's why we're not actually getting the credit nationwide. And the ask to sign the resilience commitment is essentially to make the president and the university commit to resiliency and ask all the staff members and the appropriate administrators to support the implementation and the realization of our previously we've signed and reaffirmed carbon commitment to go carbon neutral by 2050 and support the development of a climate action plan and submit an annual evaluation of progress. And I think it says somewhere here that we need to reevaluate every 5 years.
Yes.
And that would essentially ensure that we're making progress towards meeting our goal to be carbon neutral by 2050 and being resilient.
If I
Is
could
that
just
it? Yeah.
add, the carbon neutral agreement can be, it's really good, but you can work around it. Like if you're purchasing carbon offsets, you can be carbon neutral, but still be a big contributor. The resiliency commitment is making sure that it doesn't just look good on paper, we're also good for the community and we're basically like, yeah, good for everybody.
Right.
So the resiliency commitment is a step further. I just wanted to make sure that was.
Thank you, Chief Staff Sanders.
So just so I can wrap my head around this, we are just asking for the employees of BSU to formulate a plan of action.
Yes.
Well,
Initiative.
yes, initially. But we're asking Dr. Henju to sign this, and by signing this, then they would agree to family action plan. Yeah.
Okay.
And Senator Split.
Am I right to assume then that this being part of this resiliency commitment, BSU being part of that, that there's some sort of oversight committee or council or something then that helps keep BSU accountable to and kind of help enforce that our commitment is actually being upheld? Or do we believe that it will be held accountable kind of to itself internally within BSU and maybe not within the scope of this program? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I think that's part of also the 5-year checkup is that being in this is going to keep us accountable. And also we're going to have employees that are, yes. The answer to your question is yes.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if, maybe being part of this, then there are resources that help keep.
Oh, yes.
According,
Yes.
Yeah, according to what I'm reading here, if we can go back up to B and A, it says submitting the reports. I don't know, it doesn't specify who you submit the reports to, but I assume by signing this.
Second nature.
Yeah, second nature, that's right. You send it to them, they submit reports to them after the first year, 2 years, 5 years, at the checkup dates it says there. So they would be kind of like, I guess, in a way, keeping us honest.
So kind of we're involved with that already with the climate commitment, where we're in contact with other schools as well.
Thank you, I think that's fantastic.
Any other questions?
Any other questions? Well, I would like to add something. I honestly think, regardless of whether the administration feels it's feasible or not, or even the Senate feels that we should pass this, I believe it's a great initiative to look at because our sustainability initiatives at Bemidji State University is already at a great standing, and we would hate to go back, and we would love to move forward to building on it and become a better national leader. We're already a national leader, but we would. I think this is a great step towards it. At the same time, on a state level, I think we have shown in the past with the carbon commitment that we are the leaders when it comes to sustainability and environmental development and environmental preservation. And maybe this would be another piece that would make our commitment to sustainability stronger. With that, Chair Hennick, Senator Hennick, you have. Senator Hennick yields. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, thank you, Chair Newby and Senator Haynes, Senator Tibbetts, Thank you. And we will have our second reading next meeting. Moving on to reports, cabinet reports. Chair Brown.
So now that spring break's over, things are kind of at a pretty fast rate. We have, obviously, elections are coming up. And we're doing tabling down in the lady side from 10 till 2. I posted on the Facebook, I don't know how many people saw it. But as a senator, you're required to table for at least an hour. With this, there's plenty of hours available. So I'm gonna send out around a sign-up sheet, so if you can sign up, even for more than one spot would be greatly appreciated, just because then we're not struggling to find other people to fill in those positions. So if you're able to fill in more than 1 hour, please do. Also, we have posters to be put up. If I can get some help from someone with that, just hanging them around the campus here, and then we'll send some over to Resley. And yeah, just kind of reiterating the applications again. Residential ones, the 27th, reapply the 30th. The newsletter is scheduled to be released the 22nd. We might have to push that back just because spring break kind of changed our plans. But if any of you have anything you want to add to the newsletter, just write up something real briefly. We can expand on it too, and then just email it to me. So we can get that in there.
Just to add to what Chair Brown said about tabling, as a senator, you're required to table at least once a semester. So this would be a great opportunity to cover that up since it's only 5 weeks left. So I would encourage all of you to table. If you can't make the day hours, we're also going to have evening tabling at Walnut Hall, which is yet to be determined, yet to be finalized. So we'll post on our group, our Facebook group, because our Teams is not up yet. With that, any other cabinet reports? Chair Newby.
For my cabinet report, we're working on Beaver Point still. We're going to hopefully have the prize list for the auction same day as Sunsplash. The prize list will be finalized hopefully by the end of this week here, maybe beginning next week, right around then. We're working on getting the prizes, figuring stuff out, still promoting to some bigger organizations and getting that done. Finally, trying to solidify Beaver Points and getting that going. We have the campus safety walk tomorrow, 7:45. If you want to come with a walk and evaluate the safety around campus, it's supposed to be a pretty day out tomorrow. Meet us in the office 7:45 right after my committee meeting. We'll head out. Shouldn't take too much longer than a half hour. So like 45 minutes won't be terribly long. It depends on what you find. My committee currently are big. A couple things we're working on is a lot of food waste and containers issues, along with Lakeside and Aramark. We're having a lot of those conversations and things of that nature. The bill we just presented to you, as well as working with the Phoenix and the administration about gender-neutral bathrooms. That was brought to our attention from a student organization. So we started those conversations, started focusing on some of that. And then we started conversations around Birchmont still a little bit.
I'm still waiting to hear back from Councilman Nealhouse, and I will be in contact with Jesse Grant after this meeting.
Yep, so we have some people in contact and things to talk about there. And then...
Can you repeat that?
Oh, Councilman, we're talking about Birchmont still.
Oh, the speed limit?
The speed limit, the issues at Birchmont, how we've had the multiple people getting hurt there in the last year. Our car accidents, just unsafetiness in general. So Senator Tibbetts has been working on that for a little bit, trying to get a hold of Councilman Nealhouse through text and email and all this stuff.
While you look at the Birchmont, I would look at 19th Street as well, between Tamarack and Cedar.
Yep, that'll be part of the safety walk. We're just going to evaluate that area as well. Awesome, thank you. Right there. And then that's all I got.
Any questions? Any other cabinet reports? Chair Sword?
I got a couple of things. I heard there's a lot of people that wanted to help with affirmative consent week. If you guys are interested, please talk to me after the meeting. For those who are interested in just attending our panel, that is April 3rd at 7 p.m. That's going to be in Hague Tower 102. You get 100. My bad. 102, 100. So if you guys are interested, please put that in your calendars.
What's the time?
7 p.m.
So-
That's April 3rd.
April 3rd, yep.
Just to touch base on the affirmative consent campaign, is there anything else that your committee is working on besides the panel related to the campaign? Any other things for the campaign? Not at the moment. Okay. Chief of Staff Sanders.
Because I'm helping a little bit with that campaign, we will be hopefully after this meeting talking to those people that want to actually help us with that campaign and brainstorming ideas that we're going to be able to implement that week. And so we will have more information later on that.
Great.
And on top of the affirmative consent, prayer room is in kind of full swing. We've been talking a lot about it. When I say we have been, I mean Nina, myself, and a few faculty members. We're gonna have a meeting on April 4th. We're basically gonna be talking about like what we're gonna do with this room, what's it gonna be called, signage. There's a lot of, not just myself, but faculty that are interested in this room as well, so it's good to see that. And just a heads up, voting for the diversity photo contest is next week. And we got a lot of photos, so it's really cool to see that there's so many submissions of photos. I believe it was just a little over 100.
The submission ended already.
So Sunday.
110.
That's great. That's great. If you want to yield to Sanders Stoller to kind of talk about it.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to say that's why initially I had posted, I think on Facebook that, if you could help during these tabling sessions that you've actually had this week, I will have flyers. I think I said I had flyers and handouts available. The reason why they weren't there is because we actually have our hands full now of lots of photos already to go through, and which is a really, really great thing. And yeah, it goes through Sunday, and then next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we're arranging for volunteers to be tabling as well down at Lakeside, where students can actually vote on the photos. So it's scaled down about the 100 to maybe about 60 that can actually fit onto our photo displays, and they'll just be simply voting by ballot box. However, if it's possible to have beaver points part of that, that would be great as well. So anyway, look forward to seeing you next week for tabling.
Chair Sword,
That's all I had.
great. I actually have something on the prayer room. When you're talking to faculty and it looks like it's gonna happen, you're talking to faculty, you're talking to some staff members, you're talking about signage, I would encourage you to, obviously it's great, we don't need bills for everything, but I would encourage you to possibly bring up a resolution in front of the Senate so that the Senate is informed on what is actually happening with the prayer room, and so that the Senate can give their feedback on how the prayer room should look like, or the purpose of it should be, and things like that.
Absolutely.
With that, Chief of Staff Sanders.
So we all know Teams and OneDrive, so that's down right now. However, I will be getting that back up by the end of this week. That way we can transition back from Facebook onto Teams as well. And once that does occur, I'll be doing a little bit of 5-minute presentation discussion about how to make sure that you get your notifications, how your following the actual different feeds and so forth. I know that there was a little bit of confusion with that. We all grew up on Facebook. It's pretty much part of who we are. So that one's definitely really easy to follow. So as well as we'll be getting OneDrive back up and running once we have that Teams up. And then I would also just like to mention, I know that we're getting towards the end of the semester and we're all getting really tired and that it's really hard for us to get up and prep for business casual, especially on Wednesdays. But that is definitely something now that we're going to be doing the live streaming that we want to make sure that we are doing business casual, ripped pants, jeans, nice sweaters or blazers or things like that, just to make sure that we have a more professional front in front of the camera. So with that, I yield.
Thank you. Senator Boards?
For office hours, how are we doing that since both are?
Office managers are also.
So with the OneDrive being up tomorrow, you guys are just gonna have to record your hours when the OneDrive comes back up, and everything will be back up. I'll make sure that it gets changed. I'll leave it up for last week, and then I'll add 2 of them, so that you can add this week's and last week's. It'll be easier for everyone.
Last week.
I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna have last week.
And if there is any problems with the OneDrive, it's for some reason not up by tomorrow because IT is having a lot of issues. I would just say that maybe we can keep it until Monday, and if need be, add 2 files, one for this week and one for the following week, if it's not back up by Friday. With that, Vice President Stockman.
So highway cleanup, I talked with Nina to get contact information for the person who runs our area or whatever. She's gonna get back to me about that. Next week I will for sure have a date. It'll be a weekend, so that it'll hopefully work for most people. And just a reminder that you are required to do at least 1 hour of community service, right? If you haven't already.
It says 1 hour for senators and 3 hours for cabinet.
Yeah. So this will be, and it's very fun. I did it last year. It's honestly, it's a blast. So yeah, next week I'll have a for sure date. It'll probably be mid-April, early April-ish, probably, or month of April.
Great. Chair Brown?
I just have a question. This Saturday, after the March of our lives, really updates of that.
Can you repeat the question,
I was written down this Saturday, the 24th, was March of our lives.
Yeah, I haven't heard any updates at all on that. Instead of doing the walkout, a lot of people are going to be doing a march for the Parkland students and so forth like that. So I've not heard anything on that. I apologize, but I do remember us speaking about that.
If you find anything more,
yeah, so it's like March for Our Lives. It's where like the Parkland Cheers Against Gun Violence and stuff like that. As what I know is that there isn't one going on in Bemidji, but there is one in Minneapolis. So if you want to make like the 4-hour drive this Saturday, I'll be part of that.
Great. Also, just related to all the time constraints that we have compared to all the things that we need to get done, including elections, promotions, tabling, and all that stuff, I would just encourage everybody again and again. I'm reiterating this. Just come together. Let's work together. Let's work as a team, and let's help each other in promoting things and getting things done. Because really, last year, the way elections got the exposure it got, and we had the highest number of voter participation ever in the history of BSU 16th Senate. This was because of how everybody worked together within Senate, and not only that, even the candidates and their campaigns also work to promote elections itself. Doesn't matter who you want people to vote for, just tell them, vote for whoever you want to be your next president and vice president and senators. It's very important that you get people engaged. And we're going to have a couple of different events, which PR community is working on, related to elections, related to campaigns that we're planning. And again, those things also need your participation. So please step forward and, maybe it'll take 1 hour from your leisure time, but that extra hour could really help us accomplish all our goals more effectively. With that, I will move on to my cabinet report. So first of all, the April Delegates for Students United is coming up. It's from the 6th of April through the 8th, which would mean we would leave on the Friday afternoon. What time is yet to be determined, and we would come back possibly Sunday night or evening, depending on the itinerary. We haven't received the full itinerary yet, but that's kind of like the timeline. Your transportation, we would have carpooling. We would have drivers, I'm assuming, from all the participants as we have in the past. Drivers do get reimbursed, and so your transportation is paid for, your hotel is paid for, food for the most part is paid for. Maybe on the way there, if it's dinner time, then you won't get paid for your dinner. But other than that, everything is served, including breakfast. So it's a great event. It's a great conference to attend. And if you are planning to run for president, it is one of the requirements. There are alternatives of achieving those requirements, but attending a Students United conference is one of them, and it's a great experience. On a statewide level, you get to represent Student Senate, you get to represent Bemidji State, and you get to represent all Minnesota State students, which is all Minnesota State University students, which is about 65,000 students. And you'll be advocating on their behalf, bringing up motions and talking about motions and legislations brought forward by other schools. You'll get to meet your counterparts from 6 other Minnesota State universities, their senators, and their active student leadership. So it's a great experience, and you get a lot to learn, and especially if you're planning to come back next year and hopefully be applying for a leadership position. I think this is very important to attend. So far, we have received, we have 5 seats from Student Senate, and we have received 5 names, actually 6 names. And so we would have to choose from them. Unfortunately, we have limited seats. It's only 11, the delegation member that we can take. 5 of them are Students United committee members, and that doesn't give us enough room. So I would still encourage, if you're interested, if you have something to bring to the table on a state level, or if you're just like going there to have the experience, I would encourage you to talk to me after the meeting, because even if there's not enough spots, there's always a next conference, so we will put you on the wait list for the next one, and you might actually be one of the people that we select. So for those of you who know that they are going, please, or they want to go, please talk to me right after the meeting, and we'll get you registered right away, or send you a link, however is easier. Any questions? Right. More on my report is, as you all know, I went for the federal advocacy trip with Students United board members and officers and staff to Washington, D.C. We met with a lot of our representatives and senators from Minnesota in the United States Congress. And it was a great trip, and we had great conversations. We met with ASCU, which is American Association of School Colleges and Universities, a national organization which helps in the functionality of all public universities and colleges across the state, across the country. And we talked about Prosper Act, which we have talked about a lot in our Senate. We've talked about textbook affordability, we've talked about Pell Grant, we've talked about Perkins loans, we've talked about Title IX, protection of Title IX, affirmative consent, and these are really important issues, and they were part of our legislative agenda. And we received really positive feedback from ASCU. We also met with Representative Tom Emmer, who's a Republican representative in the United States House of Representatives from Minnesota. Although he wasn't entirely in line with our objectives related to, in line with our opinions related to Prosper Act, he does believe that college affordability is a concern, and all these other things that we talked about. He did listen to us, he spoke to us, and hopefully our presence and the words that he heard from us and the testimonies helped him to change his views, or at least diverge a little bit towards ours. Then we met with U.S. Senator Amy Klobuchar. We had breakfast with her, and we met with her chief of staff, not her chief of staff, but one of her staff members related to who tackles higher education. And she said that she'll inform the senator about all of our concerns, and hopefully that would be effective. And we met with the newly appointed U.S. Senator Tina Smith's chief of staff, and her chief of staff was actually very excited to see us and excited to hear about all the issues that we talked about, because Senator Smith is actually a co-sponsor in the Textbook Affordability Act that was reintroduced recently in the Senate. And she's a co-sponsor, so her chief of staff actually invited us to send student testimonials that students whose lives have been affected by the affordability of college, affordability of textbooks. And she said that she can use those testimonials to present their case when they talk about it in the Senate. Then we met with Representative Peterson, who's also an alumni of the of Minnesota State University Moorhead. It was great to see his office. It was full of division everywhere. It was filled with Paul Bunyan, duvet covers, and things like that. So we met with his staff, and he was also really supportive of all the things that we talked about. And Representative Peterson has always been on our side supporting us. And his staff said that he expects the same this year, although he's retiring soon. Then we met with Representative Tim Walz, who's also a candidate for governor in the upcoming governor elections. Representative Tim Walz is a representative from southern Minnesota, mainly Mankato area, but he was actually here during the DFL candidates when the DFL fell on DFL candidates came to visit Bemidji State, and he spoke to us for a long time and really heard us, although some of it might be because he's running for governor, but it was really positive, and he assured that his team is working hard on gathering all these concerns of students across the mid-state system and across the state of Minnesota related to textbook portability, related to Title IX, protecting Title IX, and his views on Prosper line very much with ours. He thinks that it's completely inappropriate that opportunities available to students are being eliminated. Although we all know, and we as a Senate actually said that in our statement as well, which echoes with his views that simplification of FAFSA is important, but again, it should not take away the opportunities from students. Then we met with Senate Health Committee, which is the committee that works on healthcare, education, and labor policies. And it's we met with their staff and the committee staff and told them about our concerns related to the Prosper Act. And the committee actually, even though it is a Republican committee, it is chaired by a Republican senator, but I was delighted, and we were all delighted to hear that the committee is actually working on a bipartisan bill, which does not build on Prosper Act, but does talk about simplification of FAFSA, which is a completely separate bill than Prosper Act, and it's supposed to be bipartisan, meaning that they will still, while simplifying FAFSA, they will still keep all the opportunities available to students. And we also mentioned the Title IX issue with Prosper, how the sexual assault case proceedings in universities would be affected by the provisions in Prosper, and the Senate Health Committee assured us that in the bipartisan bill that they're presenting, it's going to be somewhat in line with what we will do. So that was reassuring, and these were really important meetings and really presented Minnesota State at a federal level, which is really important that every year we go there and we talk to all these representatives, senators, their staff, and all these organizations, national organizations that really pertain to higher education across the nation and in the state of Minnesota. So it was definitely very productive and effective, and they all talked about how organized the state advocacy, the federal advocacy from the state of Minnesota is. We've heard from NCLS when we met them. NCLS is a national organization which works with student governments from all over the country. They work with the University of North Carolina system, University of California system, State University of New York, State University of New Jersey, and the Wisconsin system. And they've all said that they think that we, the Students United, the statewide campus, the statewide student association, we're probably the most effective when it comes to advocacy and when it comes to passing legislation to our state governments and advocating on a federal level and really having an impact on higher education. So that was, again, a sense of motivation that we got from the trip, which would hopefully help us accomplish more in the remaining 5 weeks of this term. Any questions related to my dissertation? Okay. Seeing none, I have one more thing. So you know that Students United has its advocacy day, the state advocacy day, which is open to all students on the 27th of March. I would invite all of you to, whoever can, volunteer and join. Yes, Senator Annenberger, you can speak on that.
It's actually, it starts on Tuesday the 27th and it goes into Wednesday the 28th. And it starts at about 5:30 p.m. on the 27th, and it should be done by around 3 p.m. on Wednesday the 28th. So we'd be leaving around 3 p.m. from the city, so we wouldn't make it back in time for the Senate meeting. But if all goes well, we might be able to just like do a call and have it on speakerphone during the Senate meeting.
And you will be excused if you can't call in. So don't even worry about the meeting, but it's just a commitment. Again, you'll get reimbursed for everything. It's just a commitment and an experience that you actually should have, because state advocacy, you get to go to the state capitol, the Senate building, meet up with our state representatives, our state senators, talk to them about similar issues that I talk to our federal representatives. So definitely great opportunity for volunteers. Senator Hennick, you're going? Okay. Senator Annenberger, you can write him down, and then you can keep him in the loop with all the conversation you're having about the travel, because I won't be able to attend those state hours.
That's next week, March 27th, into Wednesday.
Do you have anything to add to that, Senator Annenberger?
If you would like to go, please tell me by today or tomorrow, because technically the deadline to apply for it has already passed. But the only people that have applied for it so far are me and the Zoom United intern. So we've gotten a special okay to extend applications just for BSU. That's supposed to be quick, so please communicate with me like by tomorrow afternoon-ish if you would like to.
Since an overnight stay, would there be a hotel provided?
Yes.
Or would you plan your own? Okay, so it would be provided. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and usually it's going to be essentially almost similar to delegates. They'll provide you with breakfast and all that. And thank you, Senator Annenberger, for speaking on that, and thank you, Chief of Staff Sanders, for volunteering, and Senator Hennick for volunteering to represent us on the state advocacy day. I am done with my report. Is there any other cabinet reports? See none, move on to university community reports. Any university community reports? Seeing none, we'll move on to student organization updates. This is the newest section that deals with all the student organizations and clubs that we, as Senate, U.S. senators, are supposed to visit. The clubs and organizations that you have signed up for. If you've visited them, this is your time to report on your visit. So we don't have any visits.
It doesn't look like we have any visits, but I'll just speak on behalf of it. Go ahead and try to get those done as soon as possible. I understand we still have some time left. But with elections and everything coming up, like Ash said, the final 5 weeks, push hard, try to get to visit those student organizations. If you have not signed up for a student organization, please do. I believe Ash and I talked, and that would include your office hour for them.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. So if you go, it will be your office hour for the week. So you wouldn't need to attend an office hour. You wouldn't need anything that you just input, out of office hour on the office hour sheet.
And mark it in yellow.
Yeah, right now. So go ahead and please do that and get those reports. We've had some organizations reach out to us saying they want senators to go and visit them and talk with them about their issues. So people are actually wanting to talk to us. So go out there and listen, talk to everybody, get some issues. The gender neutral things actually came from talking to Phoenix. So let's go figure out some more issues and get that done. Be awesome people that we know we are.
Senator.
I don't know if this counts as a report, but I did make the discovery that Culture Shock is not an organization meeting this semester.
Yeah.
Okay.
This semester?
This semester, because they were meeting last semester, but this semester they've not filed any staff back.
sent
Okay.
back, no contact info, so.
So it does come to the report. Thank you. If you have signed up for an organization, you forgot which one you signed up for, there's a list in the Senate office on our bulletin board, and just look over, see what you're signed up for, look at the time. If nobody's responding from the organization to your emails or your calls, just if you have the meeting time or know when they're meeting, where they're meeting, show up to their meeting and ask permission that, hey, I'm here from Student Senate, can I speak for 5 minutes? And get some feedbacks, because I emailed you, didn't get a response. Senator Martin.
Also, if you're not getting a response, you can also email Josie Black, the Associate Director, because the list that I posted underneath, like the sign-up sheet, is not completely accurate, or the organization didn't list a primary contact to contact them because they just got their numbers and don't want any more. So you can message Josie Black, and there's his email on that sheet also. Okay.
All right. Moving on to advisors report. Advisor Johnson is out of town at a conference. That's why she couldn't make it today. She will be back, however, I think next week. And with that, we will move on to other reports. Kara.
I forgot to mention, next week, we discussed, nicely, we're gonna be aiming to take our picture to update the Facebook page and also our Senate web page on the BSU website.
And also for cabinet members, please dress up appropriately because we are going to take a cabinet picture in our cabinet meeting this week, Friday at 2 p.m. and Osborne.
And headshots along with that.
Yes.
We have to.
Chief of Staff Sanders.
May I recommend that we change the photo date because we have the student advocacy days and there are going to be some of us that are going to be gone to the
4th of April.
4th of April.
Senator Emberger. Great. Any other reports? Senator Spostelzer.
Well, I'm sorry that I forgot to mention this earlier. And so this Friday at 7 p.m., as I mentioned before, for the photo contest, we need to scale down some of these photos to be able to actually fit and allow students to be able to vote on them. Friday at 7 p.m., the Center for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, we're meeting to do that. And so if you'd like to be a part of that, that's open to all of you. I'd love to have you there to get your feedback on some of these photos, as well as since Student Senate has partnered with the President's Student Commission on this project. I would love that. So please be there if you can and you're interested. Also, I wanted to say that in addition to the tabling that we'll be having for voting on the photos, that the photos will be available for voting all day long, Monday through Thursday, up in the CDEI. So that we're not tabling, the photo displays are there in the CDEI. We're also doing Beaver retreats that Thursday. That'll be Thursday the 29th next week. And that'll be the last push from 3 to 4 p.m. And if you want to attend Beaver retreats, please feel free. We'd love to have you there. And you just be encouraging people to go right around the corner into the Center for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion to simply vote on their favorite photo. Thanks.
Great.
And I just want to,
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Never mind, that's fine.
I just had a question related to the scaling of photos. You're doing it on Friday at 7 p.m. And the submission is open until Sunday?
Yes, and so that is a great consideration. And because of the pace of the photos and because it's going to be slowing down, we will make sure that there's a room for any further photos.
Great. Any other questions or any other reports? Office Manager Peralta.
I just want to remind everybody that this is recording, so please remember to quorum, like your cell phone and your tablet. People are recording us. So everybody knows.
Thank you. With that, we're going to move on to points for the good of the order. First of all, I do want to mention, as I've mentioned in my post on Facebook, that please maintain our dress code that we set. It was maintained really well the first few months, and then suddenly something happened, and we switched back to the old days, which is something that I would like to change back to our good days, which is wearing business casual at the least and dressing appropriately for a professional meeting for the student government of a public state flagship university. Secondly, we're talking about decorum, as Office Manager Peralta said, please refrain from using your electronic devices at the meeting. If you don't have any emergencies or really pertinent time-sensitive issues that you need to take care of, I believe it's unnecessary and really inappropriate to use your electronic devices while the meeting is going on. Other than that, please table, please sign up, please ask questions, please ask me for help. I'm saying this over and over again because these 5 weeks are really essential to completing our year and wrapping it up on a good note. With that, any other points for the good of the order? Senator Bortz?
Chair Brown, I was just wondering if we could put the sign-up sheet for tabling on the Facebook page.
Yeah.
Just in case people who aren't here and then also people who aren't quite sure if they can sign up, like have that.
Yeah.
All right, any other points for the good of the order? Also, again, delegates, attendees, or interested participants, please meet up after the meeting with me. With that, Senator Enberger.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? Second by Senator Martin. Is there a dissent to adjournment? Seeing none, meeting adjourned at 6:20 p.m.
I think a couple of extra hours. Yeah, no,